Former National Security Advisor John Bolton joins us. It's good to see you, sir. Hope you had a good Father's Day. I don't understand. People on the right, one of the pro-Trump, pro-Republican arguments is stability. There was more stability when Trump was in there. Whether or not I agree with the argument, all right, so the guy's going over there to create stability. She says there was progress, but the right is still attacking it. Why?
Well, I can't speak for those who are attacking it. I would just say stability is very much in the mind of the observer, and it's not self-evident what it means. We used to joke during the Cold War that when we talked to the Soviets, we'd say the stability means what's ours is ours and what's yours is yours, and that the Soviet definition of stability is what's ours is ours and what's yours is negotiable. China loves the word stability, particularly in the bilateral relationship with the United States. And it means to them, we do what we want, and when you react to it, we say, now don't upset the stability here. So I'm not at all sure whether there was much accomplished here. The meeting, as reported by the press, between Blinken and Xi was 35 minutes, just assuming that means the amount of time behind closed doors. And accounting for translation, since it would be English to Chinese and Chinese to English, that's each side speaking 17.5 minutes. I don't think you get a lot done in 17.5 minutes. Did they just read statements to each other? We just don't know at this point.
Right, but at least China was open to having the meeting. They certainly have their own economic issues coming out of the pandemic. They need the United States for that, so we'll see what they make of it. But you know, I don't know how, certainly one of the hallmarks of your guys' administration was talking to the other side is a good thing no matter who they are. Here, they're talking. So let's go from that to the political state of...
I don't agree with that, by the way.
Well, go ahead. Which part don't agree with?
No, I think there are times when you talk to the opposition and there are times when you don't. Ideally, you negotiate from a position of strength, not just because you're desperate to talk.
Oh, I got you. I'm just saying the president you served said something different. He said he talked to Putin, he talked to Duterte.
It wouldn't be the first time we disagreed.
I'm just saying, the administration that you were in had a very different reckoning. It was, what's wrong with talking to these guys? We have a great relationship, me and the North Korean leader. Yeah, he loves me. So I'm just saying now you have Biden's guys go over to China and all of a sudden we want to be more selective about when we talk to people. Kind of speaks to a little bit of a political play. That takes us to the state of the race. It is one thing to make character assessments and all the typical stuff that goes on in this toxic soup that we call politics. But do you have any real concerns about the former president's insistence on keeping things that he was asked to return and his insistence on finding a way out of it? That's why he got indicted.
Yeah. Look, I don't know what his motives are for keeping that information, but I do know that whatever the documents are, and we will see a good part of them during trial, I think, they could contain extraordinarily sensitive information. And the way those documents were kept made them susceptible to foreign efforts to get a hold of them, copy them, read them, whatever. But the more important thing is, this is how Trump governs. It's totally about Donald Trump. He does not have a philosophy. He does not reason in policy terms the way it's normally understood. He did things that many Republicans agreed with, things I agreed with. He appointed 3 great Supreme Court justices, a lot of conservative judges. He didn't do it because he believes in the doctrine of original intent. He did it because he thought it would be good for him politically. And he carries that to an extreme I don't think we've ever seen in American politics. I don't think he's fit for office. And I think the way he handled this classified document question demonstrates that.
John Bolton, always a pleasure. Appreciate you. Conversation to be continued. Let's get another perspective now from Michael O'Hanlon, Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institute. Good to have you. Thank you for jumping in on late notice. Look, the main rule of diplomacy for dummies is come home with a deliverable. Come home saying that you got something that you wanted to go there to get. Did Blinken check that box?
Hi, Chris. Well, you know, he came home without a further spiral towards possible war. And I will take that any day based on where we've been headed in the U.S. China relationship for quite some time. It was not pretty. I agree with John Bolton that 35 minutes is a fairly unimpressive amount of time. This is not going to be a turnaround in relations, but I think both sides recognize we have to prevent this from getting worse. And when you're talking about 2 nuclear-armed states, by far and away world's two most powerful countries, just being able to converse is actually a step forward. Actually limiting the damage is itself a positive accomplishment. So there's nothing that this is going to guarantee about the future, but I'm happy for the visit, and it's about as much as I expected.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.